Hello, I am Robert, and welcome to my channel, where I discuss everything automated algorithmic trading, or simply algo trading. This is going to be the first video of my Learning Python Jackrabbit Relay edition. So let's get straight into it and talk about the whole process. And most importantly, let's start with one big question. Why would you want to really get into tearing an indicator apart and really learning why it works? Algorithmic trading is about finding your edge. And let's take a common indicator like moving averages. How many different ways can moving averages be applied that hasn't already been applied? And more specifically for platforms like TradingView, MetaTrader, or NinjaTrader, how many ways do they allow? That's the question that becomes a pivotal point of the process. By having 2, 3, 400,000 people using the same indicator over and over, even though they may be using it slightly differently, it still creates a collective. That collective becomes part of the problem when you're trying to find your own edge in trading. Trading is a zero-sum game. In order for you to make money, somebody has to lose money. Well, if everybody is using the same cookie cutter indicators or the same cookie cutter approaches, nobody is going to make money doing that. You need to find a unique perspective to the market. You need to think about your market in a different way. That is what gives you your edge. And then you hone that edge with proper risk management by assessing the market and the situation with a common and true approach by taking a different point of view. That is why algo trading is so important and why learning what makes a moving average is a pivotal point of your approach. And it's not just moving averages. Bollinger Bands, Keltner channels, average true range, the Common Commodities Index, and dozens of other indicators that are cookie cutter pressed to work only one way throughout the market standard. You have to think about your own abilities as a trader and how those abilities give you your edge when you look for opportunities. Let's take an example of the chart on the screen. We see a clear downward pattern. That downward pattern looks perfect for a couple of moving averages. We could say we should get in up here, open up a short, and then close the short somewhere down here. That's easy to say when looking at the chart, but it's an entirely different game when all you can see is numbers and the pretty little pictures don't exist anymore. But let's take it one step further. We already know moving average crossover strategies and a lot of the other market standards have their issues. But what if we look at the market in a different way? What if we look at the market with two simple moving averages and then we look not at the crossovers, that is, we don't open a trade here and close the trade over here. We could, but that's not what we want to do. We want to look at this differently. We want to get a better perspective of the market. What if we open the trade, let's get this in order, What if we open a trade right here, right where the moving average changes direction and starts going downward? What if we open a trade here instead of at the crossover? Well, let's see what that looks like. We're going to open up a short. Let's see, where are you at? Here we are. Now we're going to place the order here right when the moving average is changing directions. Now let's stretch this out, stretch this down. Now we don't necessarily need to worry about a stop loss, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so let's pull this all the way to right here, where the moving average is changing direction. Now we have a situation. Okay, we need to adjust this. Okay, there we go. So now we have a market and a situation. By taking a standard indicator, rather than using the crossover, we're using a swing high, swing low. That is, when the indicator is high and beginning to change direction, we open the short because it's going downward. When the indicator begins to swing high here and start moving upward, we close it. But as you can see, it found the place here with a risk to reward of 7.48 to 1. This is just by using a simple moving average in a different context, in a different point of view and perspective. It's still a moving average, but by using it differently than what everybody else would do, and that is a crossover. You're getting a better opportunity, and you're using it in a way that's different from everybody else on the market. You're looking for your opportunities differently. So let's go and see a few other examples that I've set up. So we see here, same thing, a long position. We wait for the moving average to turn upwards, and it's above the 200 period. And then wait for it to turn downwards to sell. And this gives us a 2.08 risk to reward ratio. Now we don't worry about the stop loss, because as soon as the moving average turns downward, no matter where that is, we simply sell out of the market. In essence, we have a self-fulfilling take profit, stop loss in one simple mechanism. Now let's go here to this particular one. This is a 1.31 to 1, and you can see that we open it right when the moving average begins changing directions, and we close it when the moving average changes directions. But we open a long position because it is above the 200 period moving average. Now you can code this in PineScript, but we're going to work on this in Python. We want to be able to think about this rationally, because if you're only going to start an account with $20, you don't want to spend $300, $400, $700, or $800 a year just to invest $20 when you can simply go out and rent a VPS for a couple of dollars a month. Realistically, programs like TradingView, MetaTrader, NinjaTrader, they're very nice programs, but they're very expensive programs. And that becomes the problem that we need to address for small accounts, for basic retail. Basic retail isn't going to be able to afford this kind of money just to put $20 in it. But you can take very affordable resources, rent a VPS, and learn to program Python. And open source frameworks like Jackrabbit Relay provide the mechanism for connecting your trading approach to your broker. Now let's look at this one. This one's kind of tucked away and hidden. But this is a 4.35 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Again, we're not worried about the stop loss because as soon as the moving average begins to turn downward, we get out of the market. So let's go look at a few short entries. Well, the moving average is below the market, but we still had an opportunity. Now this may not play out, and this is a problem. This really should have been a short. But because of the way it played out, we did get a profit. But more than likely, this is going to be a problem. But you can see here, this one. Let's get rid of this one. This one follows the rules. It's below the 200 period, gets in as the moving average is changing direction, gets out as the moving average is changing direction. And it's only a 0.77 risk to reward. It's not very big, but it's still a profit. Here's another one. This is even less, but still a profit. So you can see here the reality of how the market works when you think about it in a different context, when you think about it in a way that becomes out of the ordinary, that becomes different from anybody else. And the irony of this is only a 50 period moving average and a 200 period moving average. That's it. And yet when you look at the market and you see the structure, you see a reasonable point of reference that does exceptionally well. It's simple. It's elegant. It's something you can trade manually or algorithmically with the computer. So as we've seen, we have several different points of view on how just something as common as a moving average can actually be looked at differently. And that's why you really want to learn how to program and use these tools. You want to see the point of view so you can verify for yourself techniques, strategies, and approaches that set you apart from the 90% of the market that's going to lose their money. That's right, 90% of all traders within the first 90 days of trading lose 90% of their money. It really doesn't get any better as time goes on unless you have your edge and you understand what sets you apart from everybody else. The technique you use, how you look at the market is what sets you apart from everybody else. That is the important stage of the process. You need to be able to find your edge in trading. You need to be able to figure out how you are going to make money because everybody else out there in the market is doing the same thing. Okay, we are now on the supplemental repository that you get if you subscribe, tongue-tied there, to Patreon or sponsor Jackrabbit Relay. And I've already brought up the Learning Python Jackrabbit Relay Edition branch, where we have the first program we're going to talk about. The introduction to using Relay not just as a platform to managing your trades, but as a framework to building analysis tools and bots. The ability to use it quickly and efficiently to communicate so that you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies or forex pairs. Now you do need to have Jackrabbit Relay fully installed on a VPS to use this. It is open source and the directions are very easy to follow. Simply go to the Jackrabbit Relay repository and click on the wiki. It will load a page and it will give you step-by-step processes you need to follow to be able to install Jackrabbit Relay, including a video that literally walks you through the process. Here are the various videos involved. Start at the bottom and work forward. The one you need the most is the installation and setup guide. That's the big one. Start there as your primary focus for installing Relay. Now, if you don't know anything about Python, I do recommend a crash course. You need to have a little bit about Python, and you can check out my Learning Python series for a very short and quick crash course. It's not going to give you every little detail, but it will give you enough to at least understand the principles. So with that in mind, let's get straight into the VPS and start looking at the code. Okay, now that we are in my VPS and I have the Learning Python Jackrabbit Relay Edition folder up and running, let's actually see the very first program. The program that's listed in the repository. We're going to bring it up in an editor. And with our award-winning original file name, let's go through it. This is the blueprint that you need for all Jackrabbit Relay programs. It's simple, sweet, and to the point. So first of all, these two lines, these are what lets you run the program from a Linux command line. They're always going to be the same. There's going to be no differences. From the Learning Python series, we know that any line that starts with a hash mark or a number sign is considered a comment. You can put whatever you want in there, but with special circumstances on the first two lines, we tell Linux to run this just like a regular command. Now we have the basic imports. These are pretty much standard across all Jackrabbit Relay programs. You always need to import system and OS as two of the basics. But I want to talk about this line here, and I've covered this in the Learning Python series explicitly. What this does is this lets you pick specifically where the Jackrabbit Relay library is, and it tells Python that that's where it's going to find the necessary libraries. The reason why I did it this way versus a lot of other ways is it makes sense for learning, because I can change this folder and end up loading a separate copy of the library that has different changes. In essence, I can do A/B testing and see which way works better, which way works more efficiently. The main reason, though, why I chose this method is this is not a system program. It does not belong in system folders. Everything in Jackrabbit Relay is isolated in its own specific directory. When you go through the installation guide, if you haven't, that gets explained in more thorough detail. It's critical for backing up the program. It's critical for maintaining control over the program and keeping your system from turning into a disaster. So it may look strange, but it works well for the context of what this program is. Always in development. And this is, of course, the primary library. This nomenclature is explained in the Learning Python, where I use the shortcut of abbreviating it, and we'll see this below when I actually use one of the commands out of the library itself. More comments. This is just a way that I separate my code for readability. It can be any way you want as long as you can read and understand your programming 6 months or for a year from now. It's a way that helps you understand and communicate your ideals out. Now, this is a special function that is explicitly named within the Relay core. When you start running Relay, that is when you invoke it in your program, it looks for certain things on the command line or from a standard input. Standard input is a special circumstance where you can pass information into it. We'll get into that in more detail in future videos where I show you exactly what that is and how to use it. But for now, we're just going to focus on the command line for this very simple example. And the arguments or parameters that this function requires is the argument list and the length of the argument list. This information is provided to you by Relay, which is why this is kind of a boilerplate or a blueprint for all help functions. Now, this function serves no purpose whatsoever except to communicate to the user what the program needs. And I'll demonstrate why that's so important in just a few seconds. And then, of course, you exit the program at the bottom of it. We don't want the program to continue if this function gets ran, because it didn't get the information it needed to continue. So now we get to the main body of the program. Let's scroll this up. And here is the command that really starts the whole ball of wax. And this does a lot, really. It sets up and reads the command line. It logs into your broker. It reads the control files for your API and secret. All of that is done for you by this framework, by this one single line. And you see where I've passed in help as part of the usage. That is the important part. That's the function that I gave you earlier. So you can communicate certain situations that are needed for the process. The second line simply checks to make sure we got all of the elements that we requested. We need 4 parameters, and we'll demonstrate what those parameters are shortly. If we don't get exactly 4 parameters, or specifically less than 4 parameters, then we call the help function again. And this uses an internal relay function that asks how many parameters relay read. So when you use the opening command here, the Jackrabbit Relay, this loads the command line. This stores all of the command line parameters into special variables. Those special variables can then be accessed by your program. One of those variables is the length. That is, it tells you how many parameters the end user, or you in this case, gave your program. So it's a bit of an error checking process that helps you make sure your program gets the right information to function properly. And now we're going to talk about the 3 critical elements that all programs require. It could be more, it really could be one less, but you always have to have, under every single condition, you must somehow provide the name of the exchange that your program is using. And the Jackrabbit Relay Wiki goes through a large list under supported exchanges and gives you every single exact name that is supported by the system. You must have an account. The setup video talks about the account and how you set this up. This includes your API, your secret, the rate limit, a webhook, all of the critical functions you need to be able to let your program communicate with your broker. But for the purposes of this, our account is going to be Cherry Blossom, main, or public, or something simple. We don't need to worry about all the nasty details of connecting to the exchange because Relay is going to do that for us. And finally, the pair. Euro USD, USD Canadian, Bitcoin USD, XRP USDC, whatever pair you're trading. And now for the purposes of this program, because it can work both for cryptocurrency markets and for OANDA, the Forex market, it looks at a special variable inside Relay called framework. In your account configuration, you will tell it what framework it needs to use to access that exchange. The installation video talks about this extensively, and so does the wiki, where it goes through and tells you which exchanges and brokerages belong explicitly to a given framework. Right now, the only framework that is not CCXT is OANDA, and it has its own framework identifier. I kept it simple, it's just OANDA. So in this case, we're looking at the framework. If the framework is CCXT, that is, if we are explicitly working with a cryptocurrency market, then the time frame designator that it wants is specified as 1D. That is, we are going to access the daily market. If it's not the cryptocurrency framework, then it has to be OANDA, and again, we're only going to be accessing the daily market. A nice little message gets printed that tells the end user what the program is about to do. Now, we are only going to be picking 10 candles for now, but you can pick 200 candles, you can pick 300 candles, you can pick up to 5,000 candles. For now, we're only doing 10 so we can see it on a screen easily. And now we're actually going to tell Relay to go and get the last 10 candles from the broker or exchange. We do that by telling it what symbol, what time frame, and the number of candles we want. Now there's something important to pay attention here, and that is this actually gives you 9 historic candles and then 1 live candle. The last candle is going to be the current open live candle. So you're only going to get a history of 9 historic candles that are closed. That's important if you want to do a moving average of 200. Because if you want 200 historical candles, you have to tell the system to give you 201. Because you are always going to get the live candle at the end. Now we simply walk through the OHLCV data, open, high, low, close volume, and we simply print that candle. And now we tell the program what to do. If this is our main program, then we simply call the main function. As our programs grow in size, they're going to get bigger and bigger and could potentially have more than one file connected to them. Because of that, we need to be able to tell Python which program is the main program, which program is the one that runs everything, or in Linux terms, the parent of everything of this set. So as you can see, this is a really simple program, but the impact of it is quite unique and interesting. So now let's switch to a new screen and actually run this program and see what it does. Okay, so we're going to go into the Learning Python folder, pull up the first program, and we're going to tell it to load KuCoin Exchange. We're going to then use the main account that's defined in the control file, and then we're going to tell it to pull the historical data for 10 candles of BTC USDT. There's our little message that tells the user what we're doing, and then here are 10 candles, with the very last candle being the most active candle, or the open candle, or the live candle. These 9 candles here, they're closed, they're historical, they're done. And we know this because we can actually watch it. Linux provides a nice, wonderful command where you can watch what the program is doing. Watch, the number of seconds is 1 second between each iteration. So now we will load it, and then we simply watch it, and we will watch, no matter how long we let this run, we will always get the last 10 candles of the market. Now because this is a 1 minute time frame, it will take 1 minute for the candles to actually change. But we will see the live candle or the open candle update regularly based upon what the exchange does. As we can see, we just saw the closing value here change. Now, you could very easily change any of these numbers except for the open. The open is set at the opening of the candle, but all of these 3 numbers you can watch change in real time, as it just did. And based upon what we're seeing, the closing price is now decreasing in value. This is your live candle. This is why you have to take off the last candle if you want only historic data. So as you continue, then you begin to build the history of the information. This is the time in milliseconds, the opening price of the candle, the high price of the candle, the low price of the candle, the closing price of the candle, and then finally how much volume was actually traded during that candle. And you will see on a live candle that also changes as the live candle continues to update throughout the process of this 1 minute time frame. Now this is the cryptocurrency market. It works the same for the Forex market. I'm going to press Control C and we're going to show how that works. My Forex account, and I want to see Euro USD. And you'll see the same thing here as well. 9 historic candles and 1 live candle. The last candle being the live candle. So as you can see, both look the same. This is on purpose. I wanted as much congruency between the cryptocurrency markets and different exchanges and the Forex markets and different brokerages so that you could build one program to function literally in both markets if you wanted to. So if you had a strategy that was capable of working well in both markets, you could do so, and it would be very minimal changes needed to support both the cryptocurrency market and the Forex market simultaneously. So let's see how that looks side by side. Here is the cryptocurrency market. And this handles all of the rate limiting and all of the other rules and regulations that a given exchange has. And now let's look at the cryptocurrency, or look at the Forex market, excuse me. You see, it looks nearly identical. One program serving dozens of markets. And let's see if we can see what Fimix shows. Another cryptocurrency platform, but I'm going to use the public interface as I don't have an account on this exchange. It's going to do all of the things we described. It's communicating with the exchange. It's asking it for permission to connect to it and to access its public records. Now, Fimix has a very long rate limit. It's really a hideous one compared to a lot of exchanges. So you see why it's taking longer for it to collect the data. But nonetheless, it did. And we see that data exactly as we did the other two exchanges. So the process is very simple. Using Relay as a framework provides you with a very simple tool that lets you focus on your algorithm, your approach, honing your edge, while it worries about all the idiosyncrasies of connecting different brokerages and exchanges. Here you can see very simple commands that will let you function on a wide range of opportunities. And by being able to look at the market with a unique perspective, you get an edge against 90% of the other traders that are strictly and simply using cookie cutter approaches. As we continue developing this one program, we are going to implement this strategy. We are going to implement a moving average that looks at the highs and the lows of the moving average itself. That is swing low, swing high, or swing high, swing low, depending upon the market direction. Then we're going to back test it. Then we're going to forward test it. And we're going to see just how it actually works. Will it work? Well, that's what this is about. Trying to find our edge in the market and trying to see just what we can build and how we can make money that the other 90% of the market simply can't do. Collective thinking equals collective losses. And that's exactly what algo trading is against. While you use and share common thoughts between different methodologies, your point of view, your perspective on the market is what will determine whether or not you are profitable. And you can be profitable. It doesn't take a PhD in mathematics. It doesn't take an elaborate setup to be profitable. It takes understanding what the indicator is. It takes the willingness to be able to get in there and spend a few minutes studying to see the differences, like what I did here, looking at the market, wanting to capture the swing low to the swing high, not wanting to settle on the common over and over repeated approach of crossover, cross under. I want my trading to be distinctly different because I want to make money. If you and 30,000 other people use the same approach, you become a target for anybody like myself who wants to look at the market differently. By looking at the market differently, I gain an edge over you. And my edge is my ability to see an opportunity like what you see on the screen. The ability to be able to actually build something where I don't need to worry about a stop loss because it's built into the process itself. I can actually look at this and see a clear entry and a clear exit. The algorithm does everything for me. And that is the point and purpose of why you want to go through the nightmare of tearing down a moving average and actually building it. That's why you want to go down the nightmare of tearing down a Bollinger Band. What is a Bollinger Band? What is a crossover? What is a moving average? Those are the kind of questions that are going to get answered here in code, where you will see exactly what the computer sees. The brain is a wonderful item in that you can see all of this in one picture, but that's not what trading is. That picture isn't what the computer sees. It isn't what the algorithm interprets. And by the time you see this picture, a bot has made 1,000 decisions faster than you will ever know. In order to stay ahead of people using this, you need to understand what the bot sees. And the bot sees numbers, like what I showed you on the other screen. This picture here is identical to this picture here. This is what the market looks like. These are the last 9 candles of these markets. Well, 10 if you count the open one. This is what the computer sees. This is how the computer decides a moving average, a crossover, a Bollinger Bands, average true range, all of the terms you've heard over and over in trading. This is the real world of what those mean, not a line on a screen. And by understanding this, by being able to use this information, you can build tools, or you can build a bot that gives you a reasonable way of looking at the market. So, if you want the source code without having to type it in, become a sponsor, and you will get access to all of the code as I update it over time, and more code will become available. So just click on sponsor, and become a reoccurring sponsor. Yes, this is a real tier. For $5 a month, you get access to all of this information. Now, if you're subscribed to my Patreon, you get articles, posts, exclusives that aren't available here. But if you just want the code to go with this video, $5 a month, click on select, and every time I post code to the repository, you get an update. It's that easy. So this really is just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg. And next time, the next video, we're going to start taking apart these moving averages. We're going to build this in a program that we can actually run, test, and see. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please leave me a comment below. Like the video, help it grow, help others get into this. Help others see their edge. Most importantly, help me reach more people to understanding just what algorithmic trading is. It's not a magic black box that's going to make you money. It's a process. It's a science. It's a skill that over time gives you reasonable explanations and expectations. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and share. Until next time.